democratizing education by using spatial computing. I'm Tonya Hall, and joining me is Alan Smithson, CEO of MetaVRse.com, host of the XRforBusiness.io podcast, and founder of XR Ignite. Welcome back, Alan.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited. I love your show. And the last time we were on the show, we had a lot of fun. So I'm really looking forward to this.
Absolutely. You are a lot of fun. In fact, you do a lot of things. Talk a little bit about your roles.
Sure. I am the CEO of MetaVRse. We're a virtual and augmented reality company. We're working on a new product for education, which we'll be launching in 2020. It's very exciting. And we're kind of in stealth mode right now, but very exciting stuff coming, and we'll be able to announce that. I'm also the host of the XR for Business podcast, which is a podcast interviewing people, industry leaders who are either using or making virtual, augmented, and mixed reality technologies, and how they are using it for the businesses to make, save money, to train people, all sorts of different ways. And the last part of my role is as the founder of XR Ignite. It's an accelerator focused around taking B2B XR startups, virtual augmented reality startups, and taking them to the next level with business. So that's our accelerator, XR Ignite.
So you do a lot of different things, and we talked about a lot of different ways that this spatial computing is changing the world. So let's let's establish a baseline. You say that virtual and augmented reality can, one of the things that it can do is it can democratize education.
Yep.
What level are you targeting when you say that? Are you talking about primary grades, middle and high school, college and university, adult workforce skills training? Focus in.
The answer is all of it. As we move into exponential growth. So right now, we've had 1,000 years of linear growth. The line just keeps going up very, very fast, but going up. We haven't hit the exponential curve line, and that happens in the next 20 years, give or take. So where things start to get really crazy is they speed up at this exponential point. And so if you factor in exponential growth over the next 10 years, things are speeding up faster and faster and faster. There's 169 technologies being made right now around the world that are emerging, and each one of those represent $500 billion in value over the next 20 years. So you have these massive growth. More wealth will be created in the next 10 years than all of previous human history. We're at a precipice of humanity right now, and learning is going to have to evolve as fast as humanly possible with the advent of AI, machine learning, robotics, automation. We're not talking about a net loss in jobs. What we're talking about is a massive change in jobs, from truck drivers and Uber drivers and taxi drivers, people who drive anything for a living. That job will be gone within 15 years. It will be illegal to drive within 20 years. So you're going to be dealing with mass changes in workforce. So all those people driving, can we figure out ways to rapidly retrain them, reskill them, upskill them to jobs of the future? Maybe it's an AI programmer. Maybe, I don't know what the jobs of the future are, because we don't know what they're going to be. So if you look at every level of education, virtual and augmented reality are already showing massive ROI at every level. In K-12, they've shown MRI scans where kids' brains light up when they're in virtual and augmented reality. And in enterprise, companies like Walmart, UPS, Sprint, they're all seeing 90% decreases in training times across the board. This is unheard of with any technology. So if you combine that with 10 years of miniaturization, we go from this to this in a very short amount of time. So right now we got these clunky headsets, and they're wonderful. You can put your head and learn anything, but it's still a clunky headset. Fast forward 10 years, it's going to look like this. And by the way, these are augmented reality glasses as well. So that's how you democratize education, because at that point, when everybody has a pair of glasses that are inexpensive, call it $100, maybe $50, and all the content is streamed real time from cloud serving and cloud computing servers, then you can democratize education, because to get the world-class content of learning anything at any time, anywhere, is going to be relatively inexpensive.
Hey, I'm down. I've told you before, I wear glasses anyway, so yeah. I'm game. But for XR to democratize education, we first have to build out networks and equip classrooms across the nations. This is going to take time and additional education funding. So what methods and messages is it going to take to convince elected representatives and taxpayers to make these investments? And will there ultimately be a measurable return?
Um, we're focused on a 10-year roadmap for now. Anything looking beyond 10 years is very difficult, but 10 years, we can kind of see where the miniaturization is getting, where the devices are going. It's really going to come down to cost being a factor like any other device in a classroom. The difference being that virtual and augmented reality provide 10 times better learning protocols. So it turns out that when we read something, we retain about 10% of it. When we do it with our hands, and that's why these types of devices. So this is the Oculus Quest. This device here is similar to this one. So let me just unwrap this for a second. This is the Oculus Go, and you can, in this headset, you can go on Safari, you can do all these different things, but you can't move. You can look left, right, up and down, but you can't move in an axis. You can't go backwards or forward. You're fixed in a fixed position. This is called 3 degrees of freedom, left, right, up and down. So that is a headset that can give you experiences. But this one, you can look left, right, you can move around the space, you can get down on your hands and knees, you can work on things. They have controllers that go with it, and so you can actually see your hands. They also do hand tracking now. We're very close to having the ultimate device, and there's no computer, no cables, no nothing. It just is. And so we already have a device, and oh, and by the way, it's $400. We already have a device that has the potential to offer extraordinary experiences from all sorts of learning areas on a very inexpensive device. Schools that aren't buying this right now, at least one for their school so their teachers can learn about it. If they're not buying this, they're doing a disservice to the children, because this is the future of learning, and it's very inexpensive. If you can't find $400 in your school, then we got bigger problems than this.
You mentioned earlier Walmart. What are the companies, or what companies, I should say, besides Walmart, maybe even are building the best XR training content? And who are the leaders at helping traditional educators make the content delivery leap?
So let me be clear. We're very early in this. So even though we have some evidence coming in now, the Walmart evidence in UPS and this is only within the last 12 months that we've got this information. So the companies that are building this, that are really kind of pushing the limits, are VW. Volkswagen is doing, the Volkswagen Group is really rolling out VR training. Toyota is rolling out VR training, and let's see who else. UPS is driving training their drivers now, and they're seeing a 66% decrease in training times with training drivers on in VR. Anything that requires an expensive machine or equipment that you can only have so many people in, this is what's going to be first, and then it'll work its way down. So, for example, if you run a nuclear reactor, your staff can't be going in the nuclear reactor to test upon a failure. And I hope they read the manual that month. But really, when it comes down to it, you can build a completely virtual nuclear reactor, and you can run training simulators of what happens if you have to go in and shut things down and do all these things. You can run scenarios in expensive, costly, dangerous situations that are counterintuitive, perhaps. So you have to think in terms of the highest value first, and those are the ones that people are going after. That anything with your hands on. We're currently building one where you can drive an excavator, you can weld with it, you can do HVAC training, and one of our partners has developed this whole curriculum around this, and it's really, really incredible, incredibly realistic. And when you drive an excavator in virtual reality, you're driving an excavator. I've never driven one in real life, but I can guarantee you, if I sat in it, I know the handles go left and right to open the bucket, back and forward. It was like I did it, not that I watched a video about it.
You mentioned earlier that if schools aren't purchasing this equipment already and experimenting with it, then they've got bigger problems if they can't find $400 to invest. But not everyone thinks like you and I, Alan, and not everyone is really into spatial computing. Not everybody is that big of a nerd, but they may realize that this is something that they need to be on top of. So What type of advice can you offer to the public educator or even the corporate trainer who wants to explore the possibilities of using XR to expand their capabilities and explore this as a training or educational resource for their school or business?
So if it's in business, you can look at our XR for Business podcast, which is it's got a wealth of knowledge. We've recorded about 100 episodes now, and everybody from PwC, Tesla, Ford, NASA, like everybody is on there, and I just ask them the questions on how to do this. On the education side, there's Educators in VR, which is a group that is really doing that. There's also the Virtual and Augmented Reality Association, and these guys are pioneering work. So it's a association of passionate people. My wife is actually the VRARA co-president for Toronto, which is a fantastic. She's also the chair of the 5G education student and training committees. So on these committees, people from all over the world are discussing their best practices. So if you really want to learn about these things, their webinars are all online. You can learn from that. Just do a bit of research. Right now, we're still early days, so there's probably not a lot of people in your direct area that can help you, but seek them out. Maybe look for your local VRARA chapter president, talk to them, go to a meetup, try some things, try it out. But also what's happening now is a lot of the learn ed, like the ed tech conferences or educational technology conferences, there's a lot more VR coming out in those. So you can go to those and kind of educate yourself that way.
Alan Smithson, CEO of MetaVRse.com, host of the XR for Business podcast, and founder of XR Ignite. Congratulations on the success of your podcast and a business. If somebody wants to connect with you, though, Alan, because they've got some interest in some of the resources, maybe they want to catch up with you on that, what's the best way they can actually reach out to you?
Sure. You can add me on LinkedIn, Alan Smithson. And the other way is to sign up for the podcast, xrforbusiness.io. And if you're a startup or a studio or a developer in the space, you can sign up for our accelerator program at xrignite.com.
Thanks again, Alan. And if you guys want to find more of my interviews, you can do that right here or go to tonyahall.net. Thanks for watching.